And here he is, our Vancouver Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, and he was out at the Milford today. Few people I know get as excited for hockey season as Jeff Paterson, so here he is. Nice beard.
Thank you.
It's a presumptive playoff beard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's preseason beard. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. I just want to start by clearing up a little confusion, and I was the source of the confusion, so allow me. I heard you just mention that Quinn Hughes wasn't there. I didn't see Quinn Hughes, and Quinn Hughes didn't do any media, and I asked, is Quinn Hughes here? And I was told by a staffer, no. I took that to mean he wasn't going to be there. I think they meant, no, he wasn't there yet, because I have been told by the organization that, no, the captain, who was in New York over the weekend, posted pictures on social at the U.S. Open.
That.
And he is headed for the NHL North American Media Tour in Vegas yet again, but not before a stop down at Northview.
Okay. Wow, yeah. Okay.
I didn't see Quinn Hughes. I didn't see Adam Foote. I didn't see Thatcher Demko or Connor Garland. I did see the Calder Cup. It was on display out there.
Nice.
Saw the owner. I don't know if he sticks around to play golf, but the owner was glad-handing. Saw management. Ray and Cammy were out there. Cammy being the management. Ray, of course, is Ray.
The broadcaster.
Yeah. And so, look, it's an informal gathering, the unofficial, as we always say, the unofficial start to the hockey season. I'm just glad, like, the people that play in the Jake Milford make a significant investment. These are well-heeled, many of them season ticket members. The last thing they need is to get rained on. So I think they're going to get a decent day of golf at the very least. And beyond that, who knows? But hopefully it's a good day for all. But it was just nice to be back in that hockey environment.
All right, so Elias says he put on 6 kilos or about 13 pounds. Jeff, how did he look? Like proportionately, where do you think he's gained the weight?
There was no pat down involved in the media availabilities today. They didn't have to do their physicals in front of the media. And he was buttoned down in golf attire. So hard to know. But look, to the eye, he did look like maybe he had filled out a little bit. And, the proof will be in the pudding on day one of training camp. Although he is back and has been skating with the group here. And I haven't had a chance to get out and see the informal skates yet. But that'll change at some point this week as well. And I want to see with my own two eyes. I just want to see a couple of moments, even in the informal skates at UBC. I just want to see a burst. I want to see something that reminds me of the guy that made it look easy putting up 102 points, that was the Rookie of the Year guy that, had other teams on edge anytime that he had the puck on his stick. And he certainly wasn't that player last year or the final couple of months of the previous season. So he's got his work cut out for him, seemed to be in a relatively good headspace. It is only September the 8th today. So, they don't play for keeps until October the 9th. But the things that he said over the offseason and hearing him speak again today, there is a sense of determination. I think he has said and done pretty much the right things. But of course, it is just talk. He has to make that become action when they start playing the regular season against the Flames on October 9th.
We took our orders. We did put his weight in our headline as per his request. His headspace is going to be analyzed all the time. He seemed relatively light. I mean, we know he does not get too verbose. He's not super jocular necessarily. He likes to throw in the odd joke here or there, but as deadpan as he is. But, people, believe that at least the tilling of the soil has been there to clean the slate here, to allow Elias Pettersson to have as good a start as possible. So it's going to be interesting to monitor sort of, vibes per 60 here for Elias Pettersson to see if he takes advantage of what looks like a clean slate for him.
Yeah, and when he said the thing about the headlines and then he followed it up, just kidding, sometimes in his own mind, and we know he can get in his own head, I think sometimes the jokes land a little better internally than they do when he tries to take the mic amateur hour. I got a kick out of, and it just comes down to the translation, but when he said he wanted to put on muscles, and I wish it was that easy of just going to the muscles store and, attaching them. But whatever the case, this is a guy that needs to get those separators back. He was never the fastest player, even at his heights, but the NHL Edge data is irrefutable. Like his speed bursts, his shot velocity, shot volume were all way down last season. And this is a guy we know has an elite level shot when he is completely right and he is confident and willing to let those shots fly, and just way too few and far between last year. And I'm not even talking about the one-timer. Like, how many times have we seen, in the slot, puck on his stick, picks his spot and can beat goaltenders cleanly. So, I hope, and I know sort of whether we were going to get to the poll question, I'll jump in and just say, for me, it is sort of a combination of others. And it does start with being completely clear and free in his mind that his body can do the things that he wants it to do. And so, if that's health, then put me in the health column. But I think it goes beyond that. I want to see him get his confidence back. And I think a confident Elias Pettersson can be a really dangerous Elias Pettersson. But, in years gone by, I guess he's been given the benefit of the doubt a little bit. This year, there's nowhere to hide. Like, that NHL data, edge data is available on a daily basis. And I think a lot more people are going to be tracking to see, how often is he shooting? How hard is his shot relative to where it was last season? And also, again, he doesn't have to be Nathan MacKinnon. He's not going to be the fastest guy in the National Hockey League, but if he's completely healthy, I need to see that there's a few more speed bursts where he takes the puck and decides that his best option is to, carry it himself and hustle it through the neutral zone and then start to make plays once he's gained access to the zone. So, it's a combination of factors there. And whether he was truly injured, that's still open for debate. But if that led to some cloudiness in his mind, that he just wasn't able to do the things that have made him the terrific hockey player that he's been in the past, then I hope that he's cleared his mind over the offseason and that he can hit the ground running here now that he's back in town.
Yeah, hurt, injured, that distinction. And coaches will tell you all the time, and not just in hockey, but in other sports as well. When we talk speed, we're not talking about long speed. Like, there are going to be very few times in an NHL season.
About the 10,000 meters.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're looking to go 100 plus, with the puck on your stick trying to outrace people. It's more about those quick little acceleration bursts that buy you some space, particularly in the offensive zone. Brock well. You can speak to his sense of relief, I think, as well as anybody who covers this team, Jeff, but also wasn't asked about 30 goals this year, wasn't asked about repeating 40 goals. What stood out? We'll hear from him later, but what stood out for you in the session with Boeser?
Well, the 30-goal question came in the backwoods behind the building in Whistler at training camp. Right. So we'll, give it time.
We still have time.
We do. We absolutely. I got a kick out of his answer when somebody asked about the highlight of his summer, and he said, well, a trip to Italy and Croatia. And then he quickly followed that up with, but I did it before the contract was resolved. And he said, way too much stress, not the best idea for a European vacation when you're thinking long-term about your future and where you're going to live and play. So maybe would have been better off to reverse those, but the trip was set. So he went and saw a couple of great places in the world. Yeah, he seemed really relaxed. And look, this is where he wants to be. He made that abundantly clear. I think he had questions in his mind about whether here wanted him. But when push came to shove and the options maybe weren't there for the hockey club, they quickly circled back, and we know that they got the deal done on July the 1st. So again, when I look at the things that Brock Boeser played through last year, early season concussion in the 13th game of the season, he had 6 goals in his first 12. Like, he was a 40-goal pace. It was early, but he was off to a nice start last year, and I think some people forget that. And then the head injury, and then the JT drama. And ultimately, he talked an awful lot after JT was traded that JT had been his center for the last bunch of seasons. JT was his center in his best season in the National Hockey League. There was some getting used to. And remember, too, that JT was traded, and then Elias Pettersson was shut down in March. Brock Boeser spent the good portion of the stretch run playing with Pius Suter as his center. He had a little bit of time with Philip Hedl. I don't think there's a match there, and that's why I think it's really important that Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser reestablish their chemistry. Philip Hedl is all about speed and carrying the puck himself, and the limited time that he and Boeser played together, the numbers showed that it didn't really lead to an awful lot. So they've got to figure out what's best for Philip Hedl, but they also have to figure out what's best for Brock Boeser. And I think that's why more than pencil, it's probably in ink that Boeser is going to start the year with Elias Pettersson, but it's pretty important that those two find the chemistry that they've had in years gone by, because if it's not there, I don't know what the options are. Brock Boeser needs a skilled center to get him the puck and in the right spots on the ice. So Brock seemed to be in a good headspace. And look, we all know, a sensitive guy, all that trade discussion around the deadline and then his future, that weighed on him too. And so there were a lot of things that went, every guy had a lot going on last season. Through it all, he had 25 goals, which was a marked departure from the 40 that he had scored the previous season, but it wasn't down in the teens. There was a baseline there, but they've committed to him. He's recommitted to the Canucks. He's got to be a 30-goal guy this season. Like, who else is going to score the goals? Jake DeBrusk is going to score some goals. You hope Beatty gets his offense back, but they need goals from Brock Boeser, and I think he understands sort of where he fits in the grand scheme of this team building.
Could they go full skill on that top line? I'm sure they'll definitely try all combos, but would they start with DeBrusk on one side and Boeser on the other, or is it just, do you need the stiffness of an Evander Kane up on that line?
No, I think it's quite possible. I think it's very possible that you put your eggs in your basket there, and then you hope that you can sort of cobble together a second line of Kane and Hedl, and whether it's Höglander playing on the other side, or does Connor Garland get promoted into a full-time top six role? Those are questions. Again, we didn't get a chance to talk to Adam Foote, and so not really sure what he's thinking, but I know last week at the informal skates out at UBC, DeBrusk and Pettersson were paired together. Was that by design? Is that just, hey, they were, sitting in the locker room together and threw on blue jerseys? I don't think a whole lot happens by chance at this level, so it wouldn't surprise me if those two guys were of the understanding that they're going to play together, so why not, even out at UBC, if you're just playing shinny, try to forge a little bit of chemistry. And
we know Jake wants that.
For sure. Yeah.
He said, I came here for it.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week, that he didn't see the best version of Elias Pettersson and still scored 28 goals through it all. So, if you're Jake DeBrusk, I think you'd want to lay claim to that spot, knowing that at some point and against certain opponents, maybe Evander Kane is a better fit stylistically. I just think at this stage of Evander Kane's career, if that's the big offseason move and they think they're addressing their top six by bringing in a 34-year-old who didn't play at all last season. And look, I think Evander Kane has a spot on this team given his skill set. But if you look at his career, he's never been a massive scorer. He's been a guy that's produced, but has also brought it physically, brings that rugged style, can be a deterrent and all those types of things. But, I think 40 points out of a 34-year-old Evander Kane who didn't play stitch in the regular season last year, to me, I think 40 points would be a highly successful first season as a Vancouver Canuck.
I was a little surprised with Lankinen, not Demko, that was offered up for speaking today, Jeff.
Yeah, apparently
through that.
Well, apparently Thatcher has told the organization that he will speak when he's on the clock, I guess, is the easiest way, that he's going to speak at training camp, but prior to that, just sticking to himself, but by all accounts, completely healthy. He and Lankinen have been in town working together with Marco Terenius, the goaltending coach, have been on the ice. You think back, even though Demko was around in Penticton last year, but he and Lankinen haven't been on the roster together an awful lot. Thatcher was dinged up for much of last season, so there is a familiarity, but it's not like these two have been a long time running, duo. So I think that's a great first step, is to get into town, just kind of try to figure each other out, push each other off the ice, on the ice. I asked Brock Boeser, how does Demko look? And he said, well, I've had trouble scoring on him. So, that's a good sign right then and there. But that was the word that I never know. Even in their press release the other day when they said, hey, media available out at Northview, select players will be made available. It was the team selecting. It wasn't like we put in requests. So I wasn't sure who we were going to get to talk to, and not ultimately sure how they decided on players like Kevin Lankinen, but always a pleasant chat. So I had a good little visit with Kevin Lankinen. That was the word, that Demko apparently is he'll be available on day one of training camp.
And Foote didn't speak today. He was there, but he didn't speak today, or he wasn't there.
No, I didn't see him, so
Okay.
I'm going to tread lightly. And I think, I mean, I saw Brett McLean, one of his assistant coaches. I think they are all there. I just didn't see him, and he certainly didn't meet.
And he's a golfer, so I think he probably would have made his way.
Yeah. Have we? And I'm not sure how much you guys discussed this on Thursday, so forgive me if this is review. But Jeff, have we completely given up on the notion of adding a top flight forward here by the time the season gets going on October 9th?
Yeah, I mean, that's my hunch, is that now it's full steam ahead with the guys that they've got. They're going to give Philip Hedl, and I saw Philip Hedl, among others, out of the golf tournament. They're going to give Hedl every opportunity here. And it's fingers crossed, obviously, on his health. But by all accounts, he, too, has had a fully healthy season to train and prepare. And, it's not like the shock to the system of getting traded. He knew all offseason that he was a Vancouver Canucks, so he can come in here and settle in. He wasn't among those that was on the ice with the informal group out at UBC last week, but I would assume that he starts skating with the rest of them as early as tomorrow. But that's where I come back to this idea of who slots where. I'm sure on a whiteboard somewhere at Rogers Arena, Adam Foote has a general sense of what he's trying to accomplish. The question is, is this organization with a rookie head coach and coming off last year and trying to turn the page, is it better suited to experiment through training camp in the preseason, or would they be better served to try to drill right down from day one of training camp and get some line combinations in that they think that they can move through the preseason right into the regular season? So that's certainly one of the things, the approach of Adam Foote at training camp. And again, may have to wait a week before we're able to put some of those questions to him. But no, I think, Matt, the way that it's set up right now, this is their group. There are a lot of questions. There's been a lot of talk already in the market throughout the summer about the depth at center ice. And it's sort of twofold. To me, it's, all right, if these guys that they've got can cut it, what does that look like? But what if they can't? There isn't a whole lot of depth. And one knock to any one player or one of those guys, if they're not able to carry their own weight here, it gets, I think, fairly desperate pretty quickly for the Vancouver Canucks. And maybe
we thought Pius Suter was a questionable top six center. My goodness, how about this year?
Yeah. So I think they start the season with what they've got, as long as those guys are healthy. But, how patient is this management group going to be? Understanding what Jim Rutherford said at the end of the season in late April about the cost of doing business, but the cost of not doing business. Well, they've elected to go with the no business at this point. So let's see how it all plays out here.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that Jim Rutherford, for sure, if not Patrick Alvin as well, would like to do that business, just haven't been able to or aren't willing to pay the cost of that business. All right, Jeff, started anew. We're back again together here. This is many, many years for the three of us.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you on Friday. Thank you for this, my friend.
All right, guys. Thank you.